It's 8 o'clock in Honolulu. It's 11 o'clock in Hollywood. Good morning and welcome to Vintage Motocross Radio. I'm your host, Joe Abadi. Whether you're listening from your phone or your computer, please take a moment to share the show with your friends, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. This program is, of course, made possible with the help of our sponsors. Northwest Mako CZ, for all your Mako and CZ parts, please contact Alan Brown. Preston Petty Products, the legend continues. AMSOIL, the first in synthetic oil since 1973. Full Circle Racing for your rims, spokes, lacing, and truing of your vintage and modern bikes. Be sure to give Full Circle Racing a call. Vinco, keep the ride going with over 650 products in their catalog. Motion Pro, for all your specialized tools, cables, and controls. And I want to welcome our new sponsor, Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Please visit them on Facebook. They've got some great products out there. And Mark Forrester is doing a great job, and I want to welcome him as a sponsor. If you are listening to the show from YouTube, we are using StreamYard this morning. So if you'd like to allow StreamYard to see your name, I would be able to see your name if you're going to ask any questions. Please comment that you can see the slideshow and that you can hear me clearly. And we're going to continue on in just a moment with our guest, John DeSoto, who was an early pioneer of American motocross and was adored by his fans. He came to Southern California from Hawaii and worked his way from shop rides to a full factory sponsorship. John eventually signed with CZ and finally got the results and recognition of a top racer battling for top American honors in the Trans Am and Inter Am motocross series. He represented the United States in the Motocross the Nations in 1973, along with Mike Hartwig and Jim Pomeroy. He was inducted into the AMA Hall of Fame in 1998, the Hawaiian Sports Committee Hall of Fame in 2004, and also received the Edson Dye Lifetime Achievement Award in 2013. It's my pleasure this morning to have with me as my guest, the Flying Hawaiian, John DeSoto. John, aloha.
Aloha, no, Mike Kai. Very good. Thank you so much, guys. Aloha.
I'm glad you could be with me this morning, John. And I know it's a little early there in Honolulu, but you're an early bird.
No, I'm not that old. It's 8 o'clock, after 8 o'clock, so I'm still up already. So.
Okay. Hey, John, with all the research I did in order to prepare for this interview, I discovered some things that I didn't know that you've done that were aside from motorcycle racing. And one of the first ones was that you actually received a scholarship to the University of Utah for football.
Yes, I was an all-star football player in high school in 1965 over here. So I ended up, I had different, colleges I could have gone to, but some of my friends that I knew was going to go to Utah. So I figured, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it was amazing because I love, when I've never gone, of course, we call it the mainland, right?
Mm-hmm.
To California, whatever up there.
Sure.
And when I went up there, first time I saw dirt bike racing up in there, and I go, oh my God. So I never finished college. After my first year, I decided I wanted to go out and ride and race dirt bikes. So that's what I did.
So when you went to Utah for this football scholarship, that's when you saw your first dirt bike race in Utah?
In the mainland, yeah. Yeah, we call it the mainland, yeah.
Right.
That wasn't just in Utah. It was going from California to Utah.
Okay, so
yeah, I didn't fly directly to Utah. I flew to California, and then we drove up to the college. Yeah.
So you were in college for 1 year, John?
Yes, just 1 year. And then when we had space, then I decided I really, really wanted to, race dirt bikes. I wanted to move up to, the mainland, which is the mainland. I moved up to California to go out and race dirt bikes. But of course, that was before, when motocross was happening. All the things that I've done was just, we called it the scrambles, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so in those days, and that's what it was. It was like scrambles. And of course, I went to Ascot, and I really appreciate guys like Jack Simmons. They loaned me some of the bikes that they had, and so I raced that also too. That's, I met Dave Aldana and other people too. So, yeah.
And so, how long did you stay in California, John? I mean, that was the late '60s. You were riding scrambles in California.
Yes, that's the beginning. That's the reason why I went up. I wanted to ride scrambles, and then all of a sudden, when Edison Dye started the Interam,
mm-hmm.
and I saw motocross, I go, "Wow, I like that." That's more like I'm used to in Hawaii. That's the kind of the terrains that we ride and race on too. It's like natural terrain. So the motocross, I said, "Yeah, I like that." So that's why, I wanted to, instead of staying. and going to racing the flat tracks and the TTs and stuff like that and the scrambles anymore. That's when motocross came about, and I figured, really want to give it a try doing that.
So when you went back to Hawaii, were there tracks opening? Were people riding dirt bikes there? What was that like?
Oh yeah, it was open. Before I went to college, it was here a long time. My dad, which is called the Cobra.
Yeah.
My dad and all his friends, which I call uncles and stuff because they're older people. They're the ones that started a lot of the racetracks and stuff like that too. So they did it all over the island. So it was like unreal. They did it, Waipahu, Wahiawa, Haleiwa. They had it all different areas. But yeah, so it was very inspirational for me to follow and do that. I loved it.
And your brother Ronnie was an aspiring rider too. He had been on the scene with you. I remember at Suzuki. So was Ronnie riding with you at that time as well?
He was riding. My brother Ronnie, my brother Bruce. They were riding, but Ronnie most of the time he was living with me and Patty when we was up in California.
Okay.
And he was riding for Mid Valley Cycles. The Delatoris.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was sponsored by them, and so he was riding with them. But most of the time it was just me going different places, and then some of the local races we did in California, places like that. And yeah, he lived with us, so he came up and we rode together.
So your mom and dad were a big part of your life in motorcycling, and you talked a little bit about your dad there for a moment ago.
Not just in my life, Joe. It was how motorcycle racing and how motorcycles has established in Hawaii.
Yes.
My mom and my dad were the ones that, with other people, my uncles, the Rodriguez and all the other people, they're the ones that open up some of the motorcycle tracks, the scramble tracks and stuff like that. So they got permission. They worked with the city, and they worked with the state and the military also too. So they were like the motivation to get it going.
Yeah, well,
and even now with my dad, they're not here anymore physically, but spiritually they are.
Sure.
We go out up in the mountains and stuff. Oh my gosh, I can feel when we were kids, we used to ride all up in the mountains and all the archaeological sites and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, whoa, I never knew it was there. But what they have proven even with the outdoor circle people, how they get it once in a while. The motorcycle shouldn't be going here. This is the natural terrains and stuff like that. But they finally realized if it wasn't for my dad then with the motorcycles, they wouldn't be able to find all the historic places. Like in the old Hawaiian days, and even the military, they really ask me all the time, they want to go ahead and get a bulldozer and make a road so that the bulldozers, whatever, can go through the Army vehicles. But, I show them the areas, and then, of course, they not knowing, because they're not from Hawaii, not knowing where all these historic places is, and I show them area, and they really appreciate that too. So, my mom and dad, they were very, very inspirational and very motive, to get, the motorcycle industry in Hawaii, to be where it's at today.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about that, John. What kind of bikes were you riding back then?
My first bike my dad gave me, well, I'll tell you a story. When I first rode, I first rode a motorcycle, I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they didn't have the 80s or the 50s cc's in those days. So it was a Harley Davidson with the foot clutch. They call it the suicide clutch.
Yes. And
the hand shifter on the left side. So I was 5 years old. My dad put me on the bike, and we were down in Hawaii Kai on the east part of Oahu in Hawaii. And we rode in the area, which is like a marsh area. And we just was riding, and of course I can't touch the foot peg because I'm only 5 years old. So I got my hand on the throttle and stuff. And then all of a sudden I find myself riding the bike by myself. My dad had jumped off. And I go, whoa, how am I going to stop this thing, So I did it. I hit a 55-gallon drum, and the bike fell over, and then I got it. And when I looked out, my mom had whacked my dad with her purse a bunch of times in the head, for letting me ride that way too. I go, oh my gosh, hello.
Yeah.
It was a trip, but yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was now. What about when you say like your dad and your mom had had brought motorcycling and off road riding there to Hawaii? What kind of bikes were other people riding at that time?
Well, see, like my first bike, my dad got me was, I don't know if you know, it's called Francis Barnett.
Yes, yes, sure.
Yeah, the Fanny Bee.
Yep.
That was my first bike and stuff like that. Of course, my dad them they were always going to the mountains with the Harley Davidsons and the Triumphs, and even now I still have one of my dad passed away a long time. I have his bike inside my garage here, and it's a Triumph Matisse. It's like whoa, and it was really unreal when we were talking about this because Dick Mann
Hmm.
he came over to Hawaii and he met my dad then, and he went up in the mountains with my dad then. He could not believe it. He said my dad was like an unreal, rider also too. And I think man was like so stoked. He got to see places not too many people have the privilege and opportunity of seeing because it's way up in the mountains and stuff in Hawaii.
Yes.
And from up there, you get out to the top of the mountain, you can see almost the whole island from all sides, and then the ocean is the way down below. So he was stoked, and he still talk about it. And every time when I see him, and he's still around, and that's good. When I see him, he's already remember the time,
Yes.
when he
Yes.
experienced that time in Hawaii. So it's just like, well, it's really great too. So
John, of course, when I'm sure the people that are listening and before I got there, you think of a tropical paradise, Hawaii, and we all know what that looks like. But tell us about how maybe in the 70s, and we're going to get back to your career too, but this question just popped up in my mind. How did motocross tracks begin to evolve, and what different islands were they on? And were there regular AMA events there? What was the sport like in Hawaii when it was growing here in California?
well, see, that's how it was, and it was really nice. They saw me from Hawaii
Hmm.
racing, as you may mention, as a pioneer in the mainland, and all over the world, and that's what they thought it was like so amazing and so unreal. And of course, we had I invited the Roger DeCosta, Joel Robert, them, to come down to Hawaii and race. So we went to Kaneohe Marine Base, and they raced there. So it was like getting our feet in the door, with having all of this, and that's how the motocross became very, very successful, in Hawaii too. And that's how we got started. It was always, like I said, it's called scrambles or TTs,
Yes.
But when they got the motocross coming about, when they saw the interims and stuff and the things that I've done, from Hawaii, with the people in the mainland, you know, the riders, they're like just like all family people too, Gary Bailey, all the people like that too.
Yes.
So Jimmy Weiner, and Billy Silverthorne, them, they were like just like, oh my gosh, this is unreal. So that's how they got it started. That's what they wanted to do. They saw what it did and what it was,
Right.
and that's why it got started. So, but right now it's very hard in Hawaii too because this is an island, so there's not too many places that you can have a facility like that. So that's why up in the mountains where my mom then opened up, they have it over there. And we got the permission from Department of Land and Natural Resources,
Hmm.
with the border water supply and the military. So the only time we get to ride up there at the racetrack, we call it the racetrack at Kahuku, it's got motocross tracks, it's got TT tracks, it's got perimeter beginner tracks for the mini bikes and stuff. And that's the only thing. What's a concern? The only time they let us up there is only on the weekends or in holidays, because the military uses it during the weekdays and stuff like that. If they got training on the weekend, they can't do that.
I
We
see.
can't go up there. So
John, I read that when you first came to Southern California, that you actually spent a little time living in an abandoned car outside of a Montesa shop.
oh yeah, it was an abandoned car fair.
Yeah. How long were you in there? Tell us about the shop and how things got better for you after that.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. That when I got up, Jeff Simmons had a motorcycle shop too, and he loaned me a bike. So I went down to Encinitas, which is the first track I raced at,
Mhm.
Encinitas, and I raced at Encinitas. And when I went up to sign up there, and the guy said, "It's okay, you got to be this, you got." I don't know if it was CMC or AMA, so I had to sign a card. So he says, "Okay, what division are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm an expert Where you from? I'm from Hawaii. You're not an expert. They don't have experts from Hawaii. Yeah, do this. So they made me an amateur. What is this? So I said, okay, So it was like about, took us, it's like about a mile and a half. The one lap would be, But it was unreal because after an hour, the race was an hour, I had lapped everybody except the second place guy. So when I came in, the guys looked at me and goes, excuse me, how come you said you was an amateur? I said, no, you guys told me I was an amateur. I told you I was an expert in Hawaii. And you guys keep looking at my face like, yeah, right. You got experts riding from Hawaii. Hello. They only paddle canoes and surf over there. It's like, hello. So I said, well, heck, that's what I am. So, but that's when Cycle News gave me the name, the Flying Hawaiian.
Ah, okay.
Everybody thought that I took that name and did it. It says, no, Cycle News gave me that name, the Flying Hawaiian, because they couldn't believe it, And then the guys told me, said, you're an expert. I said, that's what I told you guys. And you guys said, no, I'm an amateur because I was from Hawaii,
So you rode that Montesa there in Encinitas that day. What were some other events that came up after that?
No, I didn't ride a Montesa.
Oh, you didn't?
It wasn't a Montesa. It was a four-stroke bike. I forgot what it was. No, it wasn't an aerial. But yeah, it was a four-stroke bike that I rode.
Ah.
But that's when Kim Kimball then saw me. Kim Kimball, he was the person that ran the Montesa.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that told me, says, excuse me, says, do you have a sponsor? I goes, no. He goes, can we give you a bike? We're going to sponsor you. I said, whoa, that'll be great. So I didn't tell my mom and dad that I didn't have the contract I had was just a motorcycle, wasn't a salary or anything.
Yep.
So all I wanted to do was just race. So I went up and I told my mom and my dad, I was up there for 2 weeks. So my dad flew back to Hawaii because I told him I got a place to stay. I wish I lied. I didn't have a place to stay because I didn't have any. The only money I would make was if I raced, and if I came in the top three, then I would have, some money too. So what I did was that when I went to North Hollywood?
Yes.
Yeah. I went up there and I signed a contract with Kim Kimball with Montesa. So they told me, where are you staying? I said, well, I'm staying at an apartment down here, which I lied. But inside the parking lot where the Montesa factory was in North Hollywood, there was an abandoned car. So I slept in there for 6 months.
6 months?
And one of the other guys came out from Montesa. They saw me coming out of the car early in the morning. And he walked out and goes, excuse me, where do you live? I said, oh, down the road. I live in an apartment, which I lied. Mm-hmm. So he says, I want to take you there. I said, no, I can walk. Because I didn't have a car either. And he says, I can walk. So he says, no, I want to take you there. Oh my gosh. So I jumped in the car with him, went down. He says, where? I said, well, down here. I said, oh, right here, stop. And he says, oh, this is where you're at? He goes, yeah. So I walked out of the car, thank you. And I walked towards the front door of the, it's like an apartment area.
Yeah.
And I opened the door and said, oh, okay. The office part. And I closed it. I looked, he moved, he went down. And then, okay, I came back out. When I came back out, he reversed. He says, you don't live there. I went, whoa, what are you talking about? He goes, I saw you come out of the car, this and that, that, and that. I went, oh my gosh. So he took me to the office, back the Montesa office, the factory office.
Yes.
So he saw Kim Kimball. So when I went inside, I heard Kim Kimball talking. Okay. He's on the phone with somebody. I didn't know who it was. Okay, I'll tell him. I said, okay, I'm losing my sponsorship as a bike, with the bike, But that's when he was talking to Dan Gurney. Now, Dan Gurney and Tommy Smothers, they were part ownership of the Montesa.
Ah, okay.
At the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were doing that. So I walked inside and oh my God, okay, I'm going to lose my sponsorship, for the ride, and I don't know what's going to happen. And of course, I never told my mom and my dad that I was living in the car for that long because they would have sent me home. But they told me, so Kim Kimball says, okay, John, this is what we're doing. I says, okay, tell me what. He says, we're going to give you a salary. We're going to give you an apartment. You're going to have this car, this little van, and you can use to put the bikes inside of it. What? He says, yeah. They talked to Dan Gurney, and Dan Gurney says, give him this and that. And that's how I got my my salary, and that's what made it happen too. So,
And that
and it
was
was
your,
unreal because I used to borrow a Volkswagen before.
yeah.
One from not Kim Kimball, but what was his name? I forgot his name. But he was one of the good old timers also too. I borrowed a Volkswagen from him. I took the front seat, the back seat out from the Volkswagen, took off the front fender, the front tire, and the handlebar from the Montesa, put it in the Volkswagen, drove from North Hollywood all the way to Carlsbad when I raced at Carlsbad. I got there the night before, slept in a car, and then, of course, I went up to the gate, and they looked at me and says, what do you have? I said, oh, I got my Montesa, I'm going to go race, you know. And I went there, put it together, and that's how it got. You know, then, of course, they gave me a van afterwards, too, so Montesa did. So it was like so unreal, so unreal.
Did the Dan Gurney thing and the Tommy Smothers thing, did they also help you get to Europe with that bike?
Yes. They're the ones who got the Montesa. See, when I became one of the top Americans, me and Ronnie Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Nelson, he was like my brother too. You know, him and Carol. They lived in is it Palmdale? Is it Palmdale?
Yeah,
yeah. They lived there, and then we were like a whole family together too. So we went up to Europe to represent. We did all the motor, not the motocross the nation, but all the motocross races up there. So we did all of that, and Dan Gurney gave me a van, from Spain, not from Spain, but from England, and we drove all the way down to Spain because my mechanic there was Paco Mateo, and he was awesome too. Because I loved going with him to different countries. Because he could speak the languages, which I couldn't. I go, I don't know what they're talking about, when you go into the borderline and stuff like that.
So how long?
But yeah, it was unreal what they did, the opportunities they gave me and stuff like that too. And it was funny too, because of course, Dan Gurney, there was mostly from England, all their materials, the race cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got one of the vans that had an English, or a different kind of, instead of the driver being on the left side, I had to stay on the right side of the driver,
Yes.
That was real different. So it was interesting, being from Hawaii and seeing all the kind of different things and happening. And
how long were you in Europe at that time, John, that first time you went?
How old I was?
No, how long were you there with Montesa and that first time you went over?
Oh, I was there I was with Montesa for a little over a year. And what happened is that when I raced all over Europe,
mm-hmm.
I raced in Germany and Sweden, France, Spain, and stuff like that, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, England. Yeah, I had all that time there. But when I went to France, in Chalon, France, I did a race there, and I crashed. And the Montesas those days didn't have the folding foot pegs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I crashed, the bike landed on me. The foot peg went in my armpit.
Oh.
And it ripped it up. But so my mechanic, Paco, he told me, he said, okay, JD, I spent 2 days in a hospital in France. They'd stitch inside and they stitch outside. But I had to go, when I got out of the hospital, I had to go all the way back to Spain because that's where the Montesas came from, yeah. And I went all the way to Spain, and I had to go to a bullfighting specialist. Because he looked at me and stuff, and he felt everything. There was like a lump,
mm-hmm.
and he opened it up again, the stitches on the outside, stitches inside and stitches outside my armpit.
Mm.
And he opened it up, and then there was grass in there. It was like swollen. I go, okay, here we go. So of course I couldn't finish up, the rest of the motocross races that they have,
Right.
And that's what Brad Lackey them did. They did all the different series where you become a world champion too. But so I had to come back. So when I got back to California, guys tell me, okay, John, come over here. You gonna stay over here? This and that. I said, you know what? Right now, I gotta go back home to Hawaii. I've never been home for a long time, over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go back home to Hawaii. And so I told him I'll come back, and do that. So when I flew back, I landed, and then of course in LA, and then I came back to Hawaii. and I was just healing at the time. But I still was riding, not racing, but I still was riding and stuff. And that's when I met my boss. I mean, my wife.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it was
got it.
like, oh my gosh, yeah. She was so funny. We saw each other down at Kahuku side in the country. I was riding, and yep, that's how we met. You know, then of course I told her I was coming back, and then of course, what's his name? Edison Dye heard that I came back, and he offered me a salary and all kinds of the monies and stuff with the Husqvarna.
Mm-hmm.
I went, whoa, that was like unreal. So I says, okay, let me try. So Patty, she was an airline stewardess too, but she flew with me to San Diego. Saw Edison, met with him. He's going to give me this, going to give me that. You know, I got an apartment and everything. I went, my gosh, that is unreal with the Husky, you know. But yeah, and that's what I did. And for 6 months, we did all the different races on a Husky. Although not just California, but all the way up to Florida and places like that too. Yeah. And then when we got back home, that was in June of 1969. And when we got back home in December, that's when my mom said, you know, you guys shouldn't be together without being married, you know. So we found out we were getting married. We're getting married? What? Whoa. You know, so.
And that's what happened.
So, yeah. So that was in 1969. So we've been married for 51 years now. You know, 51 years. So
we're gonna be talking a lot more about Patty, your grandchildren, and your family in just a little bit, John. But I wanted to send you a little message from Anna and Tony DeStefano. They're listening. They say
oh my God,
yeah,
Tony D, yeah,
and
yeah.
they say they love you. And you know, while that's popping up on the screen here, and I know that they're listening, I do want to talk to you about how you met Tony and how you guys became friends and how you were.
Oh
I
my
guess a
gosh.
mentor to him. So tell us about, you know, the first time meeting Tony and how you guys became friends.
I saw him when I was back then. I don't know if it was in Pennsylvania or someplace, but I remember we racing, and I saw this kid.
Get closer to the phone, John. I can't hear you.
Yeah,
that's better.
I saw this one kid. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay. Yeah, I was. I don't know if I was in Pennsylvania or someplace, but I met him up. I saw him out there, and he was kicking butt. I go, what is this young kid? He's like, whoa. He was unreal, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then I found out, you know, he was Tony DeStefano, you know, Tony D, of course, we called him, you know, and he says, oh my God, this guy has got so much potential, you know, this and that. So I told him, I said, you know what, my man, if you ever come down to California, you need a place to stay, let me know. Let me and Patty know.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a room, you can stay with us and you can, you know, race all the Southern California races also too. Because this kid, he was so amazing, so natural, so determined, so motivated, and so focused. I said, you know what? This guy is going to be somebody one day, you know. And he was from not just one day, from that day, when I saw him, he was like awesome, awesome, awesome. And yeah, so he got to stay with us, and, you know, and what is unreal too, even if I'm older than him, I learned a lot, you know, from how he rode and everything else too, you know, even in the Supercross we did, you know, it's just like this kid has got amazing talent, you know, he's very determined too.
How long did he live with you and Patty, John? You remember?
Not that long, because he had to go here and there, you know, when he got sponsored too, he was sponsored. But he was just like me, like I made mention when I was with Montesa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have a saddle. I had a bike, you know, but there was no way. I had to pay my own entry and get my own vehicle to the bike to the races wherever I was going. And he was doing that, so he got his feet in the door too, and that's how it was. And then after that, you know, look out, he was just doing all the things, you know, he wanted to do, and you know, he did it too.
You know, John, you just mentioned something about you said some Supercross races. Now I know you retired in '75, but I'm wondering, did you must have been entered in a few of those indoor races when it first got on the radar?
Oh yeah, when the LA Coliseum when it first got started, yeah, with Marty Trikes, you know, we had a couple of the Europeans also too, you know, at the LA Coliseum.
Mm-hmm. Did you like that? Did you like the indoor events, John?
It was different. You know, it's different from motocross.
Yeah.
You know, different. And the reason I liked the motocross, most of it was at the time compared to what it is today. It was more natural terrain.
Yes.
you didn't have crazy double jumps and, all this kind of things. It was just the natural terrain. I just love that. That's what we call. That's why I like the motocross too. But yeah, but I didn't, I wasn't too, up to doing the Supercross a lot. But I got hurt, of course, when they had in Dallas in what's it, the Astrodome?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. In Texas, I did that, and I ended up crashing and going to the hospital there too. So I said, you know what? I ended up with more crashes and pains with Supercross than I did with the motocross.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's the whole thing too. We can talk about that later too. But and with all the injuries I got,
yeah,
broken back, L2F4, foot pain in my armpit, knee surgeries, dislocated knees and stuff, and the worst one was like I had like about 12 concussions.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what qualified me to run for politics. The brain damage I had.
Yeah.
That's what qualified.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that too, John. Your political career. I know
everybody thought I qualified. I told them it was but everybody thought it was from my mom. And she slapping my head all the time when I was a kid. I said, no, the brain damage. Yeah, so.
Hey, John, you talked about CZs and Montesas and the Edson die ride on Husqvarna. Were there any other contracts or manufacturers that you turned down, regrettably, throughout your career?
Not really, because I went with Suzuki. I had Osa. I had Mako. Everything was okay.
Stay closer to the phone, John.
I'm sorry?
That's it. Stay close to the phone like that so I can hear you.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
So go ahead. No other contracts that you turned down. You took all the contracts that you got, obviously.
Yeah, there was offers and stuff like that, but I wasn't really time, but I did be up with them after. So even like with Suzuki,
right?
And Kawasaki too. They knew, of course, the Japanese industry, came about after the European motorcycle, were the ones that most of us rode, for motocross, but when the Orientals, the Japanese came inside, they got defeated in the door. They wanted me, Brad, Jimmy Weiner, to get inside and get involved with it too, so they can get it going. So we did a lot of, things that we thought that needed to be done to get the bikes to do better and stuff like that too. Yeah. So, but it was good. It was good.
You also had some experience in Baja racing, and actually, Brad. I was with Brad last night. We watched the Supercross, and he said, "Don't forget to ask John tomorrow about the Parnelli Jones Baja incident." I know a little bit about it, but I don't want to spoil the story. So there's a Baja. What is it? The Baja 1000, and Parnelli Jones is in a buggy behind you, and you're on a motorcycle. What happened, John?
Well, he was in front of me. I caught up to him.
Okay.
And of course, in Baja, you got the silt. If you get behind somebody, you can't see because the silt is so dry, the dust. So I was trying to get by him because I was getting by other people too. I was on a Montesa. So I went off to the left side in a desert. And of course, being from Hawaii, we don't have deserts, right? I don't know what it was, cactus trees or whatever it was. So I went on the left side. And I started going boom, 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 and I did handstands, of course, to show that on ABC Roller Sports. And then afterwards, he slowed down without a big ravine, So I went by, and that's when I passed him. And I passed him there, and then I went up on the top, and there was another ravine that went down. I went, oh my gosh! And he couldn't see, of course, the soot, and he hit me from behind. I ended up flying like about 40-something feet. Maybe even further than that. When he hit me from behind, and of course he couldn't see me. And with the buggies, the jeeps that they have, they hit a bike or it's like hitting another obstacle, And I flew over the handlebars. The rear shocks broke, everything was just all hurting. And then he didn't stop. He just kept on going. That's when I caught him, trying to catch him back again, but my bike, the gas tank was broken and stuff like that too. So when I got to the 500, I was the first 500 miles. So when I got to the 500 halfway mark, then of course gave it to Ronnie Nelson. Then Ronnie Nelson had to finish the second part of the Baja 1000. So I was looking for him, everything else too. I couldn't find him, but he denied it. And ABC World of Sports caught it all on film. But I was told by somebody that was on top of there, I was told that when he was flying with the helicopter, watching that, he got it all on film. I was told by him that Ford Motor Company sponsored Parnelli Jones. Ford Motor Company told them that if they show that on the film on ABC World of Sports, they'll pull all the commercials away. I went, what? That's why they didn't show Parnelli Jones. And of course, Parnelli, he was always a good guy, but he was very determined and he was very aggressive. Even even in the mid 400 and stuff like that too. When I saw him there, yeah. But when I saw him at the mid 400, I was racing there when somebody came up to me and told me, said, "Hey, there's Parnelli Jones." I went, "What?" So I went up to Parnelli and I looked at him and goes, "Hey, you remember me?" He looked at me and goes, "Yeah." And he didn't even stop. He goes, "I didn't hit you." Being from Hawaii, I nailed him. I punched him right in his face.
That's John. I didn't know if you were going to tell the story or not, but I heard that you laid out Parnelli Jones, and now we know for a fact that you did.
I just pounded him. Oh my gosh! It's like, whoa.
John, what other desert races were you entered in? Was it just that Baja 1000 one time, or you were involved in some other desert races as well?
Yeah, the mid 400 did that one too, and of course I have the world's record in Yuma, Arizona, for the 24-hour race. As the individual, so the solo rider.
Yeah,
I did it for 24 hours, just me.
Whoa.
That was in 1980. I don't know when it was, 86, 80 something, I guess. So, but yeah, so it was really great, and I loved it. Just to get to do the things that we hear about, and things that people always talk about and stuff, and that's what's really nice. Like, I'm 73, I'll be 74 in a couple of months, and just being at this age and just remembering the things that I should have, I could have, I would have, I did. It was like really great. It's really nice. I still go out and I still participate in some of the CZ World Championships in Marysville.
Are you coming out? Are you coming out for that this year, John?
Not really, because my doctors told me, he said, because the virus is still going out, the corona stuff. So he said, better be safe than sorry, especially when you get old. He said you'd be more vulnerable of receiving whatever might be around. So I says, okay. But you know what, Joe? That's the whole thing. You don't have to go out and prove anything to yourself or anybody. You've been there, done that, and yeah, it's okay. But and I love coming together, as a group.
Yeah.
See Brad Lackey, them, you see all the old timers, over the Silverthorns and everybody else too, and yeah, it's like a family reunion. We get together and just talk stories and just say hi to everybody. And the sad part of course, when I think about it a lot, and not to make mention of something bad, you see Pomeroy, you see Marty Smith, them.
Yes.
They're not here, but I was, oh my gosh. But the memories, that they brought and they gave and they shared with us, with me, it's amazing, because Bimbo, Pomeroy.
Yes.
He comes to Hawaii, he stayed here. And of course we got, Brian, Mike Chamberlain, they come down, everybody come to stay. Roger DeCosta calls me every once in a while if he's going to go to Japan before, when he was with another, the Japanese factory. And he would stay here a couple of days and go back up again. But no, it's just like a great reunion, And even you coming up with this show brings back a lot of memories, the things we've done, and not just me, but with you and everybody else.
Yeah.
What they've done. It's just like, even with Tony D, even if he's in a wheelchair right now, still.
It hasn't stopped
what he's done. Yeah. It's like, whoa, that's unreal.
John, you brought up Jim Pomeroy, and it seems that there's always a funny story surrounding Jim Pomeroy or Jimmy Weiner. And I know you were on Kawasaki with Weiner, and you went to the Motocross the Nations in '73 with Pomeroy and Mike Hartwig. Any funny stories come to mind with either Jim Pomeroy or Jim Weiner?
Well, we Jim Pomeroy, he was like always like, always talking, let's do this, let's go here, let's go do this, this, and I go, bro, slow down, you're always getting it in fourth gear, it's like you gotta start from first or second gear first, He was always great, but he was so motivated, talking about, even when we were talking about Tony DiStefano, it's just, he was like, yeah, they stayed focused, and I love that, and it didn't matter, with him or like everybody, with Tony, with Brad, them, it didn't matter. It was great if you came in first,
right?
But what mattered mostly was in life is getting to the finishing line, because we were doing things that not too many people have the opportunity and the privilege of doing and experiencing.
Yes.
And that's how I look at things. No matter what happened with Pomeroy or with Smith and other people, Joel Robert just passed away. In life, we have a lot of obstacles. Just like when you ride dirt bikes, we have a lot of obstacles. My goal, and I can see our goal, is to get to the finishing line. Whether you're coming first, second, third, or even last, get to the finish line. You're doing something that you wanted to do. Just like in life right now, what it is. We got obstacles. We got the virus stuff going around. We got people cannot make it here. They're not making enough money doing this and that. But the goal is to get to the finishing line.
Yeah.
Because in life we have obstacles too. So that's what I've learned, and that's what dirt bike racing has taught me in life. And we're gonna go later on with the political part, of course. But yeah, so damn if you do, damn if you don't. But you know what? You are doing something that what you want to do, and you're going to continue to pursue it.
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, John, Sonny DeFeo sends his regards.
Oh.
He's listening this morning. Sonny DeFeo, of course, Ghost Motorcycles in Long Island.
Yeah.
So Sonny is listening. In fact, Sonny is going to be our guest on the show sometime in the month of April. So I just wanted to extend what Sonny DeFeo said. He said it's good to hear your voice, and he is listening this morning.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's nice hearing you. You haven't seen or heard from each other like that, and this is what you are doing, bringing everybody back together again.
Yeah.
And then good. I'm glad when Sonny is going to come on, because I'm going to listen to it too.
Okay.
Because I remember Sonny was offered to be on America's Most Wanted.
You're going to have to explain how is that?
But we talk about Jimmy Weiner now. I'm not talking about America's Most Wanted.
Okay.
Jimmy Weiner, I tell you, that guy. I mean, all the songs. I mean, he had his guitar and playing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He never could stop singing. He thought it was, singing or entering the voice. He started the voice. The show, the voice, right?
Yeah, he was a regular Glenn Campbell with that guitar.
Oh yeah, he just loves to sing. But what's good about it too, even with Weiner, with Jimmy, I mean, everything is just like fun, smiles. Nothing about these guys so bad. They say doing this and that. He's always taking the positive and just playing his music and just getting everybody up to a different level. That's him. That's him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they do. You look at you, Weiner, Pomeroy, Lackey, whomever, and as kids, we're just looking at you guys and thinking, well, they're getting paid to race a dirt bike. What could possibly be better than that? But you guys sacrificed a lot too, and you learned to live with very, very little. Like whether you're living in a car or, I had Gary Chaplin on telling me how it was tough to get from race to race. So there was a lot of sacrifice you guys made too while you were doing that.
Absolutely. I remember we used to, get to this and sleep in the car. We couldn't afford, getting an apartment and stuff. And that's what I liked about even when I was in Montana.
Yes.
I go to Carlsbad, I go raise and stuff. If I made, $50 and stuff, guess what? I get to go and pay, at the time it was cheaper, go to a motel, finally take a hot shower, watch TV, and just like, oh my gosh, it was like heaven. And then, of course, the next day I have to go back and sleep in a abandoned car, right? So, but yeah, the things that occurred and happened was amazing. We loved it.
You know, John, you talk about your humble beginnings and how people helped you. And from what I understand, you were also very generous with giving back to kids with a special canoe program that you started. And I'd like everybody to know more about that. How are you helping underprivileged kids experience some life experiences with canoes in Hawaii? What were you doing there, John?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. When I was growing up, I never was an ocean person.
Hmm.
I played football, I did track, I rode dirt bikes, did all of that. And I never went down to the ocean. Because every time I would go down to the beach sometimes, all they would do there is drink beer, smoke,
Right.
do, drugs and stuff. And I go, whoa, what a waste. Everybody says, hey, John, why don't you come down here? Yeah, drink this, drink that. I go, oh, no, thank you. I'm okay. Hey, you're a wussy. And try to make me do it so that they can justify what they're doing. And I said, no. So, but when I did come back as racing, all over the world and, from the mainland and stuff like that, that's when I started to go down to the beach. And I looked at it and I go, you know what? Something needs to be done here with these kids. I don't want the kids saying that this is the way you have to go through life and live. You got to do this. So that's what I started. I started a canoe club called Kila Kila o Hawaii. Kila Kila means of the greatest in Hawaii. And so I started a canoe club and I told them, what we'll do, you can paddle with us, but you cannot be doing drugs, you cannot drink, you cannot do this. And the whole thing is what I did is that because I had sponsors, I would sponsor them to go to, we can paddle in Tahiti. Fly them to Japan, fly them all to different islands. We paddle races from one island, Molokai, to Oahu. And they're all for free, but they got to stay more focused in doing that. They were completely stoked, and that's what I wanted to do. And that's what later on, of course, you're going to ask me. That's how I got started in the political part. I started with the kids, Hawaiian cultural stuff, and what to do. You look at, we call it the Aina. Aina is the land. Look at the land and what we have here. And like I would tell the kids all the time during that times, I've been all over the world. Places that not too many people have opportunities to visit, especially being from out here, out in the country. I got to see things and came back home here, and I really appreciate what we have. And what we got to do, we got to make sure we protect, what we have, and you need to make sure that we call them the kikis, the kids. Make sure that the kids, get their feet in the door and just stay positive and motivated. Don't let the negative part in life take control of you. Telling, no, you cannot do this, you shouldn't be doing it. I said, the person that you got to look and take care of first is the person that you're looking at in the mirror. Because if you cannot take care of that person, there's nothing you can do to take care of anything else, though. And that's when I try to get the kids that way. And sure enough, they're really great. They really appreciate them. And that's when they asked me, they, meaning the people in the community, asked me to run for the city council because it's the beaches and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the city and county. You shouldn't have people allowed to be having, illegal drugs and stuff on top of the beach. It needs to be, taken care of and stuff. And that's how I got involved in the political part.
How long were you a city councilman for, John, in Honolulu?
I was a city council member for 16 years.
16 years. And what?
It was 4-year term.
Right.
4-year. So after the fourth year, when I was in there, you had 4 years, and you were done already. You got 2 terms of 4 years, so 8 years. So after the first 8 years, then 4 years. And people wanted to have me run for mayor and all kinds of stuff. I said, no, been there, done that. No, I'm done. I'm enjoying life right now too. So,
John, you were also, so active with the kids and your community, and you said you really didn't go to the beach that much, but yet years later on, you became a tandem surfing champion.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, tandem. Obviously, there's 2 people on that board. Who else is on the board with you?
It's a girl.
Right.
It's a girl and you. It's a girl and a guy. That's a tandem.
Yeah.
And what you do is you surf, get on the wave, lift her up, twist, on the top, handstand on your shoulders, and doing that. So, yeah. So the first year I did it, I came in third in the world, and I did it with my daughter, Miley.
Okay.
And then the second year, I tried with this other girl. We call her the Miss Makaha, which is Makaha Beach. That was Rel's son. I tried it with her. We figured I was going to go ahead and do it. She was an unreal, outstanding surfer. But we went out, and she was like, every time I tell her, up, just turn this way, she was going, nope, she wanted to do it her way, So I go, you know what? I just kept on pushing her up on top of my shoulder. I just threw her up in the ocean. Because she was like, oh, but she was unreal. But and then that's when I had another girl, Kathy Torada. Yeah, she's with the Buffalo Surf Meets and stuff like that too. So we ended up, being the champion of the world champion. So we did that.
John,
everything that I tried to do, I'm not showing off. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. I became a horseback state champion, in cutting. Cutting is when you go with the cattle and stuff. And I was a state champion on horseback riding. Never rode horses in my life until, met Patty, of course. We have the ranch, in Haleiwa. So
yeah, let's talk about that, John. Your passion for horses and the ranch and something called the Pony Club.
Yeah, we have the largest pony club in the nation. That's me, the kids. And Patty has always been, oh my God, she's always been, a horse and animal person. She takes care of the animals. It's like the horses. And a lot of people love to be at the ranch where she has, and she's the one that runs it and takes care of everything also too. And it's right next to the beach, on the north shore of Oahu. It's called Lanekea. And and that's what she does, and she has events and stuff. She had teachers, trainers coming from all over the world, to teach the kids and stuff like that too. And that's what's really good.
Do you have a website for that, John? How can people contact Patty or you about the Pony Club? Or is that just...
Patty's not doing it that much now.
Okay.
But she has other people that, works on it and does that too. So, like Tiare Finney, I'm not Finney, but Tiare Watts and stuff like that too. So they take care of it too. So
okay.
And it's not because we're getting old, She's just, we got a lot of other people, taking it over.
Yeah, well,
of course, Patty's been there all the time, making sure that not there physically, but there, making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, so that these kids can, just motivate themselves.
Is your daughter and your grandchildren involved in that too, John?
No, my daughter, she's in the construction industry. She's like a person that takes care of all the workers, this and that, make sure the equipment is running. And my grandsons, of course, one of them is, the younger one is on the Big Island, called Big Island, is the Big Island of Hawaii. He's at the University of Hawaii there. He's learning the Hawaii cultural things over there. And of course, I got the other one, Makana. He lives in Phoenix, and he works at a golf course. He's 27 years old, and he races a lot of good bikes. He does the 24-hour races at Glen Helen. He just does a lot of things over there. He just loves it, because what he likes about living in Phoenix or Arizona, even in the mainland. See, over here, we get to ride only on the weekends. Up there, they get to ride Wednesday night, Thursday nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So he gets to ride a lot.
Yeah.
So after he works, he gets to do that too. So, but of course, Makana was always a dirt bike rider also too, our grandson. He's always been a horseback rider. He was completely amazing with horses and stuff, the riding. So, but yeah.
That's what's happening with them. Hey, John, do you follow Supercross or motocross today? Do you watch Supercross races?
Oh yeah, I watched it yesterday too.
Yeah.
On Tuesday. So yeah, I watched it all up.
What are some of the things you like about it? What do you think could be changed about it if you had the opportunity?
Well, see, the whole thing is, I remember, before Supercross,
yeah,
you had the X Games, guys doing the flips and stuff like that.
Get closer to the phone, John. I can't hear you.
All the flips, the extreme games and stuff that they have with the dirt bikes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, because grandson then was looking at it and says, "Oh, Papa, you know, these guys are crazy doing all of this. You know, the flips up and down the hills and stuff like that." I said, "You know something, Makana?" He said, "Yeah, we used to do that all the time,
Yeah.
but not on purpose. Not on purpose."
Yeah. So,
But no, but I can, yeah, I can see, you know, what's going on. It's completely. I wouldn't, at my age, of course, I wouldn't do what they're doing right now too. You know, and that's the part. I love watching the Supercross. I like, you know, watching Ricky Carmichael, you know, over there too. And you know what's really funny? You know who's like our son?
who's that?
Ricky Johnson.
Really?
Ricky, he always calls me dad because when he was like 18 years old, first time I saw him, you know, riding, we were in Tahiti, you know, and I saw him there, and you know, I just helped him a lot and everything else too. And ever since that, you know, since then he calls me dad. He calls Patty mom too.
Well, you took a lot of guys under your wing, John. I mean, Tony DeStefano, Ricky Johnson, and I'm sure you were an influence on some other young racers' lives as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. But you know, that's the whole thing, and that's the whole thing. You can see the motivation in there.
Yes.
And I look at all the things that, you know, even with you can tell people if they're going to be serious or they're going to, you know, I shouldn't be, you know, blah, 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 blah. No, when they come up to you and they ask you for advice, then you know they're accepted. That's what they want to accept.
Yeah.
I never go to people and just say, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. Because you do that and they kind of put it back against the wall and go, okay, what's next, you know. But if they come out and says, you know, can you tell me, can you help me with this? And it says, okay, then they're open to it. Just like Tony D, you know, just like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is what it's all about, you know.
Yeah. Well, John, we're just about out of time for today, but I wanted to also give you a minute. If there's something that we forgot or there's a subject that you wanted to touch upon, I wanted to give you a couple of minutes or however much time you need to talk about that. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to talk about, John?
No, what you have done, Joe, this is completely amazing. Just giving everybody the opportunity and privilege of sharing the things that not just we or me accomplish, is what everybody has done to where it's at today,
Yeah.
and continue to be what it is today. And by you doing this and sharing with, you know, with everybody else and talking to people who went through all kinds of different obstacles in life and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you get to, what you're doing is you get to sharing and you get to show people that never say never. You know, you got to do it when you want to do it, and you should have done it. Not to say I could have done it, would have done it. You know, you did it. You know, and that's what we've done, and that's what you're doing too.
And you're proof of that, John. I mean, the living in the car story, you know, having no money, making believe you're living in an apartment that you don't live in, and going on and on and on. And you became such an accomplished man, both on surf and turf, I guess we could say. You know.
Yep, absolutely. The ocean, and I still go out. I do paddle my one-man canoe. I love it. Just paddling there. You get the cardiovascular thing going too.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, like I always, you know, I don't say it to everybody. I know everybody else is different too, because I never ever in my life drank alcohol. I never smoked. I never did drugs. And I tell the kids, a lot of the kids, I go to different groups and different schools and stuff.
Yeah.
I tell them all the things, you know, people are going to tell you, yeah, you're too stupid, you're too poor, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, you know. Then if you all would have listened to them, then yeah, I wouldn't be around. But I still, at my age, I still can go out, I still can ride. Mm-hmm. I still race at dirt bikes every once in a while. Mm-hmm. You know, I paddle canoe. And what's helped me a lot too, Joe, is that I've done a lot of yoga.
Oh, really?
You know, when I first, you know, you first listen about yoga, say, that's for wussies. You know, but what a big difference. You got the restorative, and then you got the vinyasa. You know, the yoga, all the injuries that I got, you know, it helped a lot. It helps a lot. And of course, every day I still busy, you know, doing things. But, you know, I'm doing the honey-do list, which Patty gets for me. I got to do this, do that, yes there, yes there.
Sure. You know? I know. I know how it is.
It.
And,
yeah, but
Mike Chamberlain sends his regards too. He had a lot of nice things to say about it.
Oh yeah, Mike is he's been awesome too. He's been a motivator
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, and like next month we're gonna go to Vegas. You know, they got the shoe. What's it called?
John, are you going to be there for the hot shoe thing with Gene Woods?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
going to be there. I'm going to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, Patty and I are going to be there. My grandson, he's coming from Arizona.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing it. That'll be great.
That's awesome too. Yeah.
All right, John. Yeah. Well, my guest this morning has been John DeSoto, a great guy all around, a motivator for the young kids, a councilman, a motorcycle racer, a horse guy. The list goes on and on. John, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, and I'll see you in Vegas May 1st.
Wow. We appreciate what you have been doing with everybody else. We appreciate it. Yes, see you in Vegas. And just remember now.
What's that?
If you're gonna go gamble in Vegas,
yeah.
they don't take food stamps over there.
I don't gamble, John. I'm a winner every time I go.
Yeah, same here.
I don't gamble. John, give my regards to Patty, and I'll see you guys next month.
You got it, man.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. My guest this morning has been John DeSoto. I hope you all enjoyed that interview. And yeah, the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame happens May 1st. It's the same weekend as the Mika Motorcycle Auction in Las Vegas. So if any of you guys are going to go, I'll be there. John DeSoto will be there, and a lot of other people too. I know Brad Lackey and some other people that were inducted into the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. Today's program, Vintage Motocross Radio, is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. For all your Mako and CZ parts, be sure to contact Alan Brown. Preston Petty Products, the legend continues. Thank you, Paul Standard, for all you do for us. Amsoil, Russell Waters, thank you so much for your interview a few weeks ago and for all the support Amsoil gives us at Vintage Motocross Q&A and Vintage Motocross Radio. Full Circle Racing, Tom McAllister, for your rim spokes, lacing, truing, and needs for vintage and modern bikes. Be sure to check out Full Circle Racing online and on Facebook. Vintco, keep the ride going with over 650 products in their catalog. Motion Pro for your specialized tools, cables, and controls. And Mark Farrister from Sunrise Vapor Blasting. We did a great video on Vintage Motocross Q&A the other night showing some of the services that Sunrise Vapor Blasting and Mark Farrister offers. Be sure to check them out on Facebook at Sunrise Vapor Blasting. This is Joe Abadi. I want to thank you all for joining me this morning for the John DeSoto interview. Join me Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. And sometime in April, I will have Sonny DeFeo on the show. Sonny DeFeo. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for listening.